Stress and tinnitus. Everyone has stress. It's not going away, and it's known to make tinnitus worse. So what can we do about it? In this video, I'm going to explain exactly how stress makes tinnitus worse, and most importantly, what you can do to reverse that cycle and regain control of your life. If your tinnitus seems to get worse when you're stressed, anxious, or sleep deprived, you're not imagining it. Stress makes tinnitus worse through a part of your brain called the limbic system. In fact, there's a deeply wired connection between tinnitus, your body's stress response, and your emotional brain. And unless we break that cycle, the tinnitus can get louder, more distressing, and harder to manage over time. I'm Dr. Ben Thompson, audiologist and founder of Treble Health. We're a nationwide private practice that specializes in tinnitus treatment. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, I want you to know there's a way forward. Let's get started. Tinnitus often starts as a minor annoyance, a background sound that most people can ignore. But under certain conditions, it can spiral into something much more distressing. So what turns mild tinnitus into a bigger problem? For many people, it surprisingly starts with stress. Whether that's stress from work, a recent health issue, watching political TV, family relationships, or even just chronic lack of sleep, stress sends your nervous system into a state of high alertness. Your heart rate goes up, blood pressure might rise, and stress hormones flood your system. Your sleep can suffer, your mind can feel on edge. When all of those things happen, your brain can start interpreting tinnitus or ringing in the ears or a hissing sound in your head. It interprets that not just as a sound, but as a threat. This is where the limbic system comes in. It's the emotional processing center of the brain, and one part of it, the amygdala, plays a key role in the fight or flight response. If the amygdala determines that your tinnitus is threatening or dangerous, it kicks off a cycle where the more you hear the tinnitus, the more the brain reacts and makes it louder and more noticeable for you. That is a negative feedback loop, and over time, that loop can intensify. Tinnitus can become harder to ignore and then more emotionally distressing, physically exhausting. Your body is anxious and stressed trying to fight it, and the tinnitus gets more noticeable and louder. This is the vicious cycle of tinnitus and stress. Now let me explain the loop in simpler terms. Tinnitus starts as a background sound, usually not too loud in most cases. Then something stressful happens, maybe a health scare, maybe a life event, or just gradually over months, your life is feeling a bit overwhelming and out of order. Suddenly, your system is flooded with stress hormones. Now, the limbic system in the brain reacts to the tinnitus and makes it louder and more intrusive, and your body interprets that sound as a threat. A message gets passed to the limbic system. Hey, this is dangerous. The limbic system reacts with fear, discomfort, hypervigilance, focusing, obsessing over the sound. What is this? I've got to solve this. I go to doctors, I go online. Unfortunately, in today's world, there's not great answers with a quick Google search or a visit to your local doctor. You need to speak with a specialist to get help with tinnitus. So when that's going on, your heart rate can spike, you might feel more anxious, your sleep suffers, and as a result, the tinnitus gets worse. So it's a feedback loop where one piece feeds into the other, and it can be sort of this downward spiral sensation, which is exhausting. This is why some people feel like they can't concentrate at work, they can't tolerate quiet rooms, and their emotional bandwidth feels completely drained. But here's the good news. Just as this loop can feed itself negatively, we can also reverse it and create a positive upward feedback loop instead. You can't flip a switch and turn tinnitus off, but you can take action in other parts of the system, the parts that impact how the tinnitus is processed and perceived. And that typically starts with calming the body and telling the limbic system, you are safe. How do we do that exactly? Well, we focus on the body's stress response. That includes improving your sleep, lowering your heart rate, slowing down your breathing, and grounding yourself with movements, being in nature, or calming routines. You know this intuitively. You know how to calm yourself down. Sometimes it's just hard to put it into practice. When you do slow down, your stress, your limbic system, your physiology gets the message, I'm okay. This is not actually a threat. This is a benign body sensation. This is not a life-threatening condition. I'm not under attack. The brain wants to run from the sound because it's a sound that it deems as threatening, dangerous, or unknown, or something that shouldn't be there. But it's a tricky spot because we can't run away from something that's inside of our own body. Mastering the stress response here, changing the different patterns and behaviors of what's going on, that reduces the emotional intensity of the tinnitus, which helps the tinnitus fade further into the background. And that can lower stress even more. What happens there? Well, you're noticing your sleep is starting to get better. Your focus is starting to get better. Your mood is starting to get better. And that's how we can create a positive feedback loop, an upward spiral, if you wish. And that process is called habituation, where tinnitus goes from being front and center and loud to something your brain tunes out in the background. You're not thinking about it nearly as much. I asked our provider team at Treble Health, very talented audiologists who specialize in tinnitus, what are the most effective techniques for helping your patients manage tinnitus-related stress. They shared 3 of their favorite tools, simple yet powerful methods you can start using right away. First, 5-finger breathing, a common technique where you can trace your hand with your finger while matching your breath. Inhaling on the up, exhaling on the down, inhaling on the up, exhaling on the down, and etc., etc. It's great for grounding yourself in the moment. Second, imagery, a relaxation method where you mentally transport yourself to a peaceful place like a beach or a forest, engaging all of your senses to create a soothing mental escape. And third, progressive muscle relaxation, or PMR. This involves tensing and releasing different muscle groups, helping release physical tension in your body and easing the mind. These techniques are backed by clinical experience, and we often use them with our patients to support the process of calming the central nervous system and reversing the tinnitus stress cycle. Let me share a real-world example. One of my patients was a 55-year-old lawyer. He developed ringing in both ears. He went to his ENT doctor and got a hearing test, which showed mild hearing loss in both ears. There was no obvious cause to his tinnitus. The ENT doctor told him there wasn't much that could be done. But the tinnitus was serious. It was interfering with his work and his mental health. This patient tried hearing aids. I have an example of hearing aids right here on the table. These are the Widex Smart Rick devices that we recommend to many patients at Treble Health. They do great at providing relief from tinnitus, and when you can treat the tinnitus and any hearing loss together, that often leads to the best reduction of tinnitus. This patient had some success with hearing aids, but it really wasn't enough. He also tried anti-anxiety medications from a psychiatrist, but the side effects of those medications were too difficult, so he had to stop them. At work, the quiet environments made the tinnitus unbearable. He began having panic attacks and had to leave the office early quite often. He had spent over $10,000 traveling to clinics and trying alternative therapies, but nothing seemed to give lasting relief. When he came to Treble Health, we really started by measuring his symptoms using the Tinnitus Functional Index. His score was a 68 out of 100, meaning his tinnitus was a very severe problem in his life. So what did we do? We focused on 2 main things. First, we targeted the body's physiological stress response. He began practicing daily body scans and guided relaxation techniques designed for tinnitus. Second, we worked on the emotional response, especially the catastrophic thinking that made bad days feel unbearable. And the whole time, this patient was using sound therapy. So I have on the table right here, sound therapy devices that go in the ears, sound therapy machine that can be put on the bedside table or in your living room, and a sleep headband that can be used when you're falling asleep at night. Let's now zoom into these products a little more specifically. Here are those devices that go up and on the ears. You can see right here, I'm going to put one in my hand. So you can see it's very small, smaller than the size of my finger, and I'll put it on my ear to show you in just a moment. But this piece is the body of the device. So this is the actual hearing aid component, what we also call a sound therapy device. And there's a thin wire that goes alongside the skin into this speaker with a rubber tip inside of the ear canal. The wire sends the sound through to the speaker, and then this rubber tip rests comfortably inside of the ear canal. Let me show you how this looks on my ear. I'll put it on right now. If you'd like to try any of these sound therapy devices, you can book a free consultation with a specialist from Treble Health to see if you're a good candidate. Click the link on the top right of the screen to book a free consultation, or look in the description below. Next up, we have a sound machine. Patients love using sound machines by their bedside table, falling asleep at night, or in their living room or their home office. It has a power button and it has about 20 different sounds inboard in the sound machine. You can see right here, there's actually a SD card. This does not rely on Bluetooth. That means you can play the device independent from your phone being on or having internet. And finally, the sleep headband. You can see right here how it looks spread out. There's some thin speakers right here. So on each side of the headband, there's thin speakers, and the patient would wear this. This part would go over their forehead, and you can see there's a pause and start button. There's volume control right there. This does rely on Bluetooth, so you can have it on both ears. You can fall asleep without playing sound that might disturb your partner if you share a bed with your partner, as well as you can hear the sound through both ears at the same time, even if one of your ears is laying down on the pillow. Now back to the patient that I spoke of who used these types of devices with success. Over time, he began to regain control of his tinnitus. the fight or flight response started to settle. He reported fewer panic episodes, better sleep, and more confidence at work. This patient used hearing aids with sound therapy. Gradually, his tinnitus became less noticeable and he overcame the burden of tinnitus. Most importantly, he got his life back essentially to normal. Now he keeps up with his meditation and is aware of tinnitus for just a small part of his day. Now let me share another story. This patient was a 60-year-old woman, recently retired, with tinnitus in just one ear. Her tinnitus was triggered 3 years ago, and it fluctuated a lot throughout the day. Some days it was loud, some days it was quiet, and it seemed to change a lot in that one ear. Some days it was just shrill and unbearable, other days barely noticeable. She worked with an audiologist on my team at Treble Health. She had mild, high-frequency hearing loss and used hearing aids with built-in sound therapy just like the ones that I had shown you here. But here's what we discovered. Quiet environments and a lack of mental stimulation would trigger her tinnitus and make it worse. That would lead to stress, which would make the tinnitus louder, and the negative feedback loop would just keep going. Her tinnitus functional index score was 74 out of 100, which is a severe impact. So we built a treatment plan for her. We created a sound therapy schedule, making sure she had sound enrichment during the quiet parts of her day. We used verbal affirmations to help reduce fear when spikes happened. We brought in her spouse to help her feel supported and understood. And most importantly, we helped her recognize her personal triggers and how to mentally stay grounded even on hard days. As she followed our recommendations, her bad days became more manageable. The tinnitus did not disappear, but her relationship with it changed. It was less noticeable, her bad days were not as severe, and she felt much more in control of this condition. She was able to reduce her tinnitus significantly, and she graduated from our program. Now, you might not be able to eliminate tinnitus completely, but you absolutely can reduce how much it affects your life. The key to managing tinnitus, especially related to stress, is to stop chasing the sound and start changing your thoughts and behaviors around it. If you focus on calming the nervous system, improving sleep, using sound therapy like these devices, and reducing emotional reactivity, you can break the tinnitus stress cycle and create a new, more peaceful baseline of your health. So here's my question for you. What are you going to work on first? Calming your body with guided breathing and that physical stress response, or CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, and the emotional reaction through the limbic system? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're curious how a professional team of tinnitus experts can help you, I'll put a link on the screen right here and in the description below where you can book a free consultation with my team at Treble Health. We're here to guide you through every step of the process. And if you need more encouragement, check out the next video on the screen, 3 tinnitus success stories that will change your life. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.